go ahead and take a look. Good to see Steve down here to get in on this.
Yeah.
You know, so that
At least you can get to it. Normally this room is packed.
oh yeah, it's bullshit. So we got two main controllers here. This is a time clock. They don't use it.
Okay.
All right. Well, they never did.
Okay.
It did work because I was here when they built this restaurant out.
We'll drop this door so we don't fucking die in here.
You're gonna have like each fan's gonna have a relay. It's on that print, and then you'll have a cooling coil relay, and then you'll have an electric heat relay. I need the print too, but it's real simple. I mean, shit, I didn't realize you were handing me
I didn't
everything.
realize it was that either. Jesus, I'm sorry.
No, it's cool.
So you got two controllers, you got two air handlers we're talking about, right?
There's actually three. One of them is controlling two, I believe. No, one of them is standalone. The two big ones for the dining area.
Yeah.
One's here, one's here.
Okay.
Yeah, if we look at this, I mean, it's not.
You can kind of get,
Everything's numbered. It's real simple.
Yes.
But the problem is, if one of them shits out or something,
Yes.
you don't know. I mean, I've had to reset them. They go wiggy sometimes.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'll just kill power to the,
Okay.
and then everything seems to work again. Like sometimes the cooling valve won't open.
Right.
In the spring, you know.
So when
And
you've got something that gets stuck on stupid, do a hard reboot.
Yeah, do a
right?
hard reboot for sure. You know, and then but make sure your relays are closing.
Okay.
You know, because that's the thing. Like
Those are iDeck relays, right?
Yeah, you'll be calling down here, or you'll have power come. You won't have power coming out for cooling, even though you're calling for cooling. The thermostats are real simple. I'll go over
Yeah.
them with you. But everything in here is like, it's pretty.
Pretty accurate.
Pretty-
true.
oh, yeah, I've had
pretty
trouble-
true to the way it got put in.
Yeah, I've had to troubleshoot this thing like many times with this print, and then like if this thing ever went missing from here, I would
The
just
first thing
get-
we did was grab that and made about 3 copies. Actually, there were about two complete copies in there.
Yeah, see, it'll even tell you like 54 chilled water valve.
Wow.
I mean,
Solid.
literally, you could put your meter like and read DC voltage like if you got power going out to,
Okay.
because this is all modulating heat and electric heat,
So it's all digital.
and you can't use like you can't go putting like a Honeywell 8000 on the wall or something. If one of these take a shit, you have to figure out either use. Well, I changed out the one in the kitchen to one of those smart stats.
Yeah.
Like an Ecobee or something?
No, that won't work.
Oh, I
It's
see.
it's got to have a 24 volt control and a modulating digital output on it. So it's
Okay.
got to have a 0 to 10 DC
Okay.
signal, because it tells the valve like, okay, I'm starting to hit set point, so I'm going to back off, like, you know, and it takes a couple volts away and it starts to close the chilled water valve. And the heat,
Okay.
you know, the electric heat, it always overshoots. It is what it is. You know,
okay.
they're always sometimes they're hot in there. It is what it is. It just because it stages
Okay.
based on, you know, it's got one of those XCRs or whatever.
SSE modulated.
Yeah.
Pulse relay, like, right?
Pulse
Yeah.
relay,
We
exactly.
got those.
Okay.
And but so it'll slam on a couple. This electric heater in the kitchen and the big one that we will go look at first has been replaced. I'm sure you remember.
Yeah.
We had to drop the whole ceiling down, and
Jeez.
when it was installed originally, it was installed upside down.
Okay.
So
The unit or the heaters?
the heater was installed upside down. So all of the high limits and shit were on the bottom.
Oh, wow.
And it's an electric heater.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you remember, there was a fire in
Yeah, I
here.
do.
I was actually working on it, and since they never changed that's why we got to stay on top of the filters more than we did before. When I'd be pulling them out with a big long hook because you can't get to much.
Right.
They were getting destroyed. Well, you have to shut, you know, the heater off on one side and the heater off on the other side. Well, they were still like hot, so I was pulling them out. The filters got on the coil, you know, on the electric heat,
Oh,
and it just
shit.
went up.
Yeah.
But this, you know, the high limits should have shut the heater off if they were up high,
Right.
but they were underneath. So it just went up. I mean,
That didn't
the
sense
one dude that worked in here, he got me a fire extinguisher. I was able to put it out, but
Okay.
I remember.
it was like a couple weeks before Christmas. But I mean, the whole fucking ceiling lit up. It was scary. It was one of the scarier things I've had happen to me. But like I said, yeah, this is all, you know, AHU3 heating signal, number 40, 41.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You just look at, and literally they're just marked right on here.
Great.
If anything, if rebooting this thing doesn't work, then we'll have to get that guy. This spider shit is like it's like from when I got in this business like 23 years ago. This is original DDC shit.
Chicago Cut has got the same crap, so you need somebody that can interface
With it with their computer and knows how to read the programming from like, you know, so you need like an old time dude. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, we were putting this shit in when I was an apprentice.
Yeah.
And I mean, this is actually newer than the stuff we were putting in, but it's still old. I mean, I don't know how they put this. This is like 12 years ago or whatever they did this. This
You
shit
got-
must have been laying around and they just decided to put it in or
You got a
something.
guy from GNO?
I do.
All right, so if we're in exam.
Well, I did 3 years ago. I mean, he could have retired or whatever, but I can find out.
Yeah.
You know. But these controls, like I said, so this is the big air handler, the two big air handlers. Chilled water, the Blimos are easy to get to. I will tell you about, there's a couple things I've done around here just to maintain. We froze some coils and shit, so the economizer in this unit does not work anymore. I disconnected it, I closed it, because you guys have chilled water all year, correct?
Yeah.
Fuck it coiled. Worth it. We popped we popped a coil and then we popped a
Yeah.
sprinkler head, and I'll show you guys why.
Yeah.
But it's just not worth it. I mean, fuck it. I just closed it fine because there's leakage.
Yeah.
And it's a restaurant. They don't maintain the makeup air. It sucks the shit into a negative. It starts pulling in cold air from all the doors and everything. And then,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, I don't know how many times I told them, like, we have to get in this makeup air. We got to pull it. I have 2 filter changes, so you can pull one out, wash it at your leisure, put a new one in. So you're not
Okay.
washing them in the sink or trying to fuck around, because I used to take them out in the dock, hose them down. I said, get me a new one. You know, I would do it like when I was doing the scrubber.
Mm-hmm.
Put new ones in, so I'm in and out of the kitchen, because these guys are in there at 5 in the morning. That's one thing too. I do get in here at like 4:30 in the morning. I don't mind doing that, but you're not going to be able to service shit like.
Well, this is a real light operation now. Chicago or Cafe 300 went belly up.
Right. Yeah, I know. Ed still calls me. He's like, "What's going on with the space?" You remember Ed?
Yeah, I like that.
Me too.
Tell him I said hello if you talk.
I will. And I go, I don't know. You
Yeah,
know?
he picked the wrong time to go out on medical leave for surgery for his hands, you know.
He got back before the shutdown, though, right?
Did he? I didn't see him.
Oh, maybe not. Maybe, you know, he kept telling me they're going to shut off my phone, you know, so I have 2 numbers for him, but they never shut his phone off, so.
Good.
All
right.
So this is your,
Two main air handlers. You said there's actually a third.
there's a third, yeah, let's go.
All right.
We'll go.
And then
go.
cooling coil, access,
Yep.
heaters, and filters, and I'll tell Brian to make sure to tell Steve to keep on them filters. Let me send him a text.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't think these filters, and unless you guys have gotten up there and done it, they've been done in a year.
Okay.
So,
No.
so here's the main air handler. Sits
Yeah.
right up here, it takes up the whole ceiling. The returns are right here.
Okay.
So
And this is blowing out there.
this is the right side of the dining room.
Okay.
So you got to put a ladder up here. You got to take that ceiling tile out. These two, that one. It's kind of hairy.
Yeah.
You got to put
It's tight
you got to
up
put a
there.
ladder on the grid. I never did it alone. Obviously, you guys won't do it alone
Yeah.
if you do
Yeah.
it, or if we end up doing it, just because. You know, just hold the ladder, whatever. You
Yeah,
see it
yeah.
slipping or whatever.
Right.
Filter access doors right here, and I have a filter list I can forward you.
Yeah, that'd be great.
And belt list.
That'd be great too.
I had a ton of belts. Everything seems to have been tossed.
Where was it on top of the
Inside
cooler?
that room.
Oh, too bad. Yeah. Yeah, that surprised me.
Chilled water valve is up above the ceiling here. Now, the contactor and the fan starter and everything is on this side of the machine, but the electric heater, you got to take apart the ceiling on this side of the machine. There's a giant electric heater like right here. You're always going to have to go around this light, this sprinkler head. All the electric heat is right up here. I mean, contact, you know, everything, all the controls and everything are right there.
Okay.
We'll go over the thermostats later.
So this is one unit.
There's a runaround pump up there. So the way that spider works, it doesn't fire the runaround pump when we go into freeze. It just automatically runs. There's 2 runaround pumps in the ceiling. When it's below like 40 degrees outside, they're running all winter. It's just programmed that way.
Okay.
So it's not like, you know, normally they'll kick the pump on. You know, when you go into freeze, all the dampers will close, the fan will shut off, and the pump will come on. They're just running the pump when it's below 40 degrees all the time. We changed the seals on this one, and then they had somebody else. You guys hired somebody to do the seals, I think, on the other one.
Probably.
Or it happened over the weekend. The seals blew out or something. So I think
They might have had a fitter from Great Lakes come in and do it.
maybe it's Great Lakes sounds right. They changed that one. Fucking.
So this runaround pump, it's not part of the normal sequence of operation. It's just for below 40-degree operation.
Right.
Is it circulating through the coil?
Yeah, just keeping water moving for freeze protection.
Freeze protection, okay.
Just because it was either I actually had started kicking around the idea of draining these coils, like I do the bank
Yeah,
upstairs,
yeah.
just because there's so much leakage and so much negative pressure, suction in here. But the runaround pumps, as long as everything's working right, you test it once a year, it should be fine. The problem is, it's all in that controller, so you just have to physically test the pump, the starter, and then come down here when it's cold outside and make sure it's running.
Yeah.
Because you can't force it on.
Right.
I mean, you could jump the relay on, I guess, if you want to, just to make sure that it works. I never did. I just
Yeah. Or pull the leads off, and was it 20? Is it 24 volts?
It's coils on the relays.
It's on off. It's not.
It's on off. Yeah, it
Yeah,
doesn't
so it's-
modulate. It's just on.
Digital, not analog.
You'll see all the shit up there. Electric heat works good.
Filters got to be.
Filters got to be changed. I mean, at least quarterly.
Are they pleated filters or what?
We put pleated in. We put pleated in anything that has over like a 5-ton drive, because otherwise they just tear the insides of the filters right out. I don't want to bounce around. We'll stay with these two air handlers, and we'll talk about the makeup air. The makeup air is up here in the ceiling.
Okay.
It's a nightmare to work on. The fucking doors are 6 feet by 5 feet. You gotta get up on top of an 8-foot ladder to get to it.
Two guys?
I always have two guys when I'm doing shit like this in the ceiling. I mean, usually an apprentice, just somebody.
Yeah.
I mean, the contract won't be for two guys probably, but I'll have like an apprentice with me or something.
Yeah.
Every year we would, climb up inside there and poke out the burner. Now the problem with this place is
You say burner? It's got a gas burner on it.
it's got a gas burner on it. Yeah. And it's just got internal controls. You set the discharge air right inside there. You set the enable right inside there. It's got its own amplifier. The problem with this thing hasn't worked in years. This here is like almost 100% plugged. These diffusers. To take these out, the ceiling grid is screwed inside them.
Mm-hmm.
They're screwed into the side of these. These things come down. They got to be like power washed and put back up.
And they haven't been.
No, because they never wanted to take the ceiling down, and it'd have to be done in the middle of the night, and they didn't want to pay for it. So
Right.
there was a lot of battles with what was it, Compass or whatever.
Compass,
I mean, for all the money they had, they were really cheap.
Yeah.
But whatever,
Yeah.
But I would get this done, or have us do this at some point soon. You know what I mean? Big belt-driven blower. We got the belt sizes. You got to grease the motor, grease the bearings. You can't get to this side of the. That's like we got this little kid. This little guy. I would squeeze him up in there, and he would squeeze around the backside and do it. Me and you ain't doing it. Me and you ain't doing it.
I'll probably fucking
You
do it.
might have to fucking do it. I don't know. But this thing's pretty simplistic. It's all self-contained. It's interlocked with the scrubber though. So when the scrubber comes on, it turns on the makeup air automatically. I'm trying to remember. Here's the controller. There's an amplifier down here for makeup air, but there's one up inside the unit too. So you turn this thing in the winter, make sure that it's on. You'll have your dummy lights. They all work, or they did. This amplifier. There's another amplifier up in there. Maybe this is the one Ed was controlling it with. One might supersede the other one. I don't remember how it works, but
You say amplifier like a rheostat to control the speed, or what do you?
no, for the temperature.
Okay, gotcha.
So it just, because it's got a modulating gas valve on it.
Oh.
So it's got it'll try to maintain this. It just maintains discharge air. So
Yeah.
if but it's a makeup. Fucking I'd come in here and they'd have it like at 90. It's like, dude,
Yeah, right.
it's 0 outside. It's never gonna get there. It's just gonna run at high fire all day. So
Yeah.
I just keep them at like 55 or 60. I mean, you're just tempering the outside
Right.
air. You're not trying
Yeah.
to. They thought it was like supposed to be hot. It's
Yeah.
not gonna be hot.
Yeah.
Just to get it.
This is like an internal controller for the scrubber. There'll be like alarms will come up. There's a pressure switch in between each set of bank of filters out there. I mean, I used to test it all the time. I have it so unsensitive that the filters could get plugged on that scrubber. They'll start getting smoke in here and they still won't get alarms. They were getting alarms like every other fucking week in the beginning. And I just kept, adjusting those pressure switches because I come out and the filters weren't dirty. It's just they have to go through so many banks of filters. It was tripping these.
Yeah.
So, believe me, the sensitivity, and that's something I did over the years.
It's a nightmare.
Well, they'll call you and say, hey, there's smoke, the smoke's not quite going up. And it's like, well, then one of the banks of filters are, We'll go out and we'll talk about the scrubber because the way we had it set up, there's pre-filters that have to be changed out like fucking almost monthly. Then the bags are like, every 2 months. Charcoals are supposed to be only once a year, but they were making so much chicken and steak and shit in here that the charcoals had to be done twice a year, and that's where the big money is for the smell.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
But
Right,
that's
we're
a-
getting off track.
That's a replacement. That's not a cleaning, right?
No, the charcoals, what we were doing, we were buying new charcoals for the first 2 or 3 years, but then we found a guy who was willing to, he'd buy a big drum of charcoal, charge, the shit, the rocks and stuff, and then we'd send him out, he'd open up the and power wash them down and then recharge them for us and it was like half the price.
Okay.
So that's how we do the charcoals, and and then we could afford to do it twice a year instead of just once a year.
Yeah.
The rest of the filters you can get anywhere. They're 4-inch pleats, bags.
Yeah.
There is a specialty filter in there that we do have to order, but we did those like every quarter or something like that. But I always had I was supposed to come out and service that scrubber once a month. Sometimes I wouldn't get here, but I always maintain. I always took care of the bags and the pre's are the most important thing because everything gets caught in there first before it moves on.
Right.
But I said it over and over again. Don't start that thing up. I don't know when the last time the thing was greased. So, and I heard it start up the other day because I was working at Friedman.
Yeah.
Thing's screaming. It needs belts. The scrubber needs pulleys, both pulleys.
Yeah.
But they never wanted to pay for me to come in at night and change these giant pulleys.
So
the
it needs a
thing,
little TLC, huh?
so the thing, it'll eat belts.
Yeah.
They won't make any noise for like 6 weeks, and then all of a sudden they'll start screaming again because the pulleys are all worn out on the inside, and they just eat the belts, and then they start slipping and shit.
Yeah.
I can only do what
Right.
they would pay me to do.
Right,
Yeah. So, this is the interlock controls for the makeup air and the starter and everything. This has nothing to do with Ansel. They just always land the shit in here. There's the main contactor for the scrubber. This is the contactor for the makeup. But like I said, this stuff is all interlocked. So when Ed would turn it on, or see how they pull in both together at the
Right.
same time.
Yeah.
So now the makeup
Yeah.
and the scrubber starts, and this thing's pretty. You can fuck around with this thing. It's pretty self-explanatory.
Okay.
There's not much going on in here except a starter, but a couple relays. No starter, but I never had to fuck with this thing. This is some kind of alarm. It'll give an alarm if the scrubber goes down.
Okay.
I never met, some of this shit I just never had to mess with. It just works. But that was the makeup. So the makeup dampers have to prove that the thing's open before the fan starts. So there's a Blemo with an end switch inside there.
Then the scrubber started outside first, right?
That starts first, yeah. And then this thing starts to open its dampers.
And the makeup fan comes on. Gotcha.
Yeah, I mean, you got to get in there. You got to try to lube them with some dry lube once a year and shit, especially this makeup, because the shit that comes off the river, goes right into the dampers. It just destroys them.
Makes sense.
Again, though, I never really had time to do a lot of that shit because they would only pay me for 2 visits for the inside stuff. And I mean, I'm working around. I come in at 4:30 in the morning. They're banging into my ladder and everything. It's like, you know what?
Yeah, right.
Whatever.
Yeah, I don't know what the extent of the operation is. I kind of came down yesterday, but I got called away right away. I'm thinking of mainly salads and sandwiches and stuff like that right now.
Yeah, I don't think they're gonna cook anything. This place over here, yeah.
Well, they turned the scrubber on yesterday or 2 days ago.
You heard it.
Yeah, because I was around the corner at this Untitled Supper place or whatever, and I heard the thing start up, and I go, oh man, they're running the scrubber. got to get that thing greased out there. I mean, I don't know how old that grease is in there.
So when we want to know what restaurants to eat at, you're the guy I need to talk to.
Well, we do take care of a lot of them. I mean,
Yeah.
all the Bottleneck, all
Yeah.
the Let Us Entertain Yous,
Okay.
you know, Barrio, Sienna Tavern, all those places, all
I had a
those
guy
dynamic guys.
I had a guy yesterday asked me about places around here. I said, you know,
Well, you better have a lot of dough.
said that, and I said, you know, last time I saw clean restaurants that are worth eating at were in your big hotels usually. And that's
Yeah.
because they got a whole crew of stewards that come in. And
Well,
clean
there's
at
like a
night.
steak place like Prime and Provisions
Yeah.
over here. I know that place is clean. I'm in there all the time.
Yeah.
I take my wife down there
Yeah.
sometimes. But,
What about the river roast over there?
you know, there's rats everywhere, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't say the place is dirty,
Yeah.
but I mean, you can only control the rats so much, but right next to the river, you know, fucking
Yeah.
everything. I know.
All right, so this is the one big unit. They said there's another unit.
This is the one big unit for this side of the dining room.
Okay.
Uh,
Where's the other guy? Over here, right? Where the
Yeah.
pump is. Okay.
Yeah.
I remember that pump leaking.
Yep. The other one's not quite as big, but it's still pretty big. It sits right here. Like I said, I have the damper, I have the Blemo totally disconnected.
Disconnected? Okay.
The outdoor air damper closed, and then the Blemo locked down on it, so it can't open anymore.
All right.
Okay.
And I can put that all back the way it's supposed to be if Brian wants me to, but I don't think he will, because if this thing trips on freeze, which it was doing periodically, then this electric heater out here, I don't know what, this electric heater is just a reheat booster heater.
Yeah.
That all it's for is to keep this socket where the sprinkler lights are, and we blew one. But this thing, you know, if the pressure switch fails or something, but if we trip on freeze on there, this thing goes off, you know, on pressure.
Okay.
So no heat.
Right.
And, you know, if this thing happens at Friday at 3 in the afternoon, and this thing sits all weekend long, it's zero outside, it's gonna pop.
That's good to know, maybe someone do it.
Well, you know what, your guys started, I think for a while, they were doing like their rounds, making sure this thing was running every day as part of their round. Make sure. And if they found it dead, they would call.
The restaurant guys or?
No, your guys. I think at night, we're doing like rounds.
Yeah, the fix here, if you come in here and you're doing your cold checks, and you're getting cold readings, like, you know, there's a metal panel right there, when you could hit with your infrared.
Yeah. Well, these linears too, if you point
Right.
right at it, if you got nothing, you know.
Right. So we opened up, when we had that freeze up, I forget which one we opened up, that access panel, or this access panel, we got a heater in there. And
Yeah, you did put a heater in there.
That
This
is-
baseboard works as far as I know.
Yeah.
It's on breakers in the kitchen.
Yep.
This controls that. It's supposed to be reading, this is all hollowed out, it's supposed to be reading behind here.
Yeah.
This controls your baseboard, it doesn't control it very well. The baseboard's either on or it's off.
Are these coming from our boiler or?
No,
they have their own?
electric.
They're electric.
Oh, electric.
Electric breeding.
And they would shut them off in the wintertime just to save money and shit, like some of these GMs, and it's like, dude,
Jeez.
I'd come in here and the window would be frosted up, like, what the fuck are you guys doing in here? Like, do you? And then they would turn them on real quick before you guys would come down at breakfast, they were fucking.
Oh,
I guess
jeez.
people that serve sandwiches don't know much about fucking.
Yeah.
That's it out here, I mean, so the other area, you know, it's the same one, same as this one, it's just a little bit smaller. So there's two stats. These
You
things-
comment on the other unit
It
working?
works, as far as I know. It works, you know. I mean, you can run it in cooling and you can go to the Blemo, make sure, you know.
It's open and
The
closed.
problem is, you can't, there's no access panels to get inside and like work the dampers and stuff, so you gotta take the Blemo off and just kinda like work
Yeah.
them.
Oh, that's-
You know what I mean? They're internal into the ducts, so.
Okay.
But here's the stats. They do give you a lot of.
And this is for the second unit,
This is for
right?
this one, yeah, the other one is right over there.
Is it in the kitchen?
No, it's on this panel, this pylon right here for, cooler.
Ignore the man behind the curtain.
I see, yeah.
Right. So that's for the big one that's right here.
It's the same exact deal as this one. You can actually control a lot. It shows you the outdoor air temperature. It shows you some of the stuff you can't see on that spider. So there's the room set point. Changeover set point 55. pump start set point. That's the runaround.
Okay.
So when it gets below 40, that runaround's supposed to be running. If it's not, then we need to find out why. That's just your room temperature set point. Outdoor air temperature is reading 59. I don't know if it might not be accurate. So that's something to. Mixed air temperature 71. So that's. But again, I have the economizer out of play, so that's never gonna. Discharge air temperature set point 55 for cooling. And you could fuck with these. Some of them you can. Some of them you can change the set point. He's given you access to it. Some you can't. You have to get in with the computer and actually change it. But the shit that you want to change, you have access to. From what I remember, it's like you're not going to change the set points on this changeover or any of that bullshit anyway. Freeze. It'll tell you if you're in alarm. That's percentage. Heat percentage too. When you're in heat, it'll tell you because it'll tell you how much heat you actually have pulled in, by percentage wise. But then that's it. I mean, it's pretty nice. Set point, outside 59, 73. So they're trying to cool right now. If the actual units are running, I don't know what you guys,
The time clock in there's not in the equation.
No, I mean,
Right. So it's just running off a thermostat?
It's just running off the thermostat, and they've been running because they would run it all night. Because, like I said, I was always afraid of this being down because they were going down occupied through that time clock.
Yeah.
Fucking come in here in the morning, like 5 in the morning, like it's freezing in here.
Yeah.
And it would take 2 hours to warm the place down. So it was like, I took that thing out of play a long time ago.
They shut down and they were doing remodeling in here when that freeze up happened. They was talking about it.
Yeah.
It was fucking
Cold in here. It was as cold as it was outside.
Jeez.
I've got pictures of that, of the river frozen over. I want to say around minus 14, maybe minus 20 in there. Minus 14. And it looks like you're in the Arctic, man. It's like there's just steam coming off of it. If it's water, it's steam coming off of it. If it's frozen solid, there's just like, it looks like you're in Antarctica. It's cold.
So,
All right.
That's the two big guys.
You said there's a third one, right?
There's a third one. This was just for the back of the kitchen. It's standalone,
Right.
but it has to have one of these app stats
Okay.
that has modulating, capability. I put this stat on. It used to have. You ever see one of those Honeywell stats with like 1,000 buttons?
Yeah.
Orange and green buttons
Yes.
and all that
Yeah.
bullshit. I hate those stats a lot.
Yeah, I
that
got
thing
it.
took a shit, so I talked them into changing it.
I'm not a fan of that style stat and stuff.
This thing's standalone. This thing can do DC. This is what I've been changing out for years. Like this KMC app stat. So this thing is standalone. It's real easy.
This is just for back here?
Just for back here. The air handler's right here.
All right.
Here's the return.
How do the filters generally hold up on that?
Not real good because the grease.
Right.
That goes right in, and in fact, these are 1-inch filters in here. So as soon as they start getting dirty, they suck through.
Yeah.
I've had to shove the kid. I think we cut holes or there's just flecks, shoved them up in there to clean the coil.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And Ed used to work back here, and he would always, it's like, man, it's getting hot back here. Something's not right. Well, tell him that he needs to come out. Belts are real easy to get to. There's an electric heater on here. It's a real small one. This is just for like this area right here.
Okay.
Belts, storm call valve.
Yeah, it's all right there.
What kind of dampers you got?
This thing,
Is this on the economizer too or no?
I don't think this has an
Not
economizer.
grabbing outside there, I don't think.
I don't remember, but I don't think it does. But if it does, it's all right here. I mean, you'll have your Blemo for your return and your Blemo for your economizer. It's going to be all right here. This is a real easy to get to, actually. This is the easiest one. You need an 8-foot ladder to take the ceiling out. You're on the top of it, basically, because it's above the deck like another 5 or 6 feet.
So if they're not running full service out of here, and you can get at this stuff, this isn't bad equipment to kind of cut your teeth on and get familiar with.
No, not
Kitchen
really.
air handlers and restaurant air handlers.
No, not at all. Like I said, it's pretty straightforward. I mean, as long as you understand modulating heat and cooling,
Yeah.
modulating, it's gonna cut down. It doesn't mean that it's not cooling, but it may only be open 10%.
Yeah.
I'm saying the chill water valve. It's gonna try to coast. So if you have it set at 74, it's gonna reach 74. It's gonna just try to coast. It's gonna come down to like 20%. And just, And then as it gets hotter, if it starts getting out of set point 1-2 degrees, it's all built into the algorithm on you know, on the Spider. This is standalone, so it's gonna go right off that
This
first.
isn't gonna, it's got nothing to do with the Honeywell controls.
No, not this heater, just those two big ones.
Okay.
Breakers, me and you have tried to find them, they're somewhat labeled.
They're in here.
They're in the vault, I don't, you know, I think we labeled them.
Vegas for everything in here, or?
What do you got?
You got these right here.
Baseboards, that's the only thing I think relative to heating, cooling in here is the baseboard breakers. The
Okay.
big three-phase breakers are in that
Yeah,
vault.
we'll go take a look at that and maybe walk around that struggle a little bit. I think you might wanna hire your company to maintain that.
Yeah, dude, we've been doing it for 10 years, so, I mean, and if I was able to just come in here 4 times a year, it wouldn't be so fucked up. I had to tell the people from Compass all the time, like, listen, they didn't like want to understand, like, well, you guys service that. Like, yeah, but you guys are a restaurant. All the shit is in the kitchen, all the grease and everything goes right up into the machines. It's like, I have to be in here quarterly. And, you know, finally, if they just like gave me a key, they're like, just do it, like, whatever, you know.
I don't think,
But I have a boss too. I can't just come in here and service it because I want to.
Yeah, yeah.
because you know, it's the right way to do it, it's supposed to be done.
Well, but that's,
I'll talk to Brian, he might want to, have you in here a couple of times a year, and then, you know, but
Yeah,
also have us
do
bird
shit,
washing it, you know.
just do filters or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah, bird
At
watching.
least, you know, maybe just in the fall and in the spring to just test everything. The electric heat, I forgot to tell you, so on this air handler over here, everything's internal to the electric heater here. There's a big giant, you know, control cabinet.
Right.
This one is separated, the control cabinet's on this wall, up in the ceiling. And the electric heater's in the unit, but obviously everything's just piped over. But you'll see, in here is where all your contactors are, pulling in different stages and everything, it's right above the ceiling.
Okay.
I mean, we can, you gotta take this one out. I've always, you know, I've been doing this forever, so just be fucking careful.
Yeah, sprinkler,
You know, as far as a dishwasher exhaust or anything like that,
Yeah.
I never found it. I don't know where it is. It could be tied into the fucking scrubber for all I know.
yeah.
All I remember is that when this place opened, it just had an exhaust fan out there and it was like stinking up the dock, so they had to add the scrubber. So if there's a exhaust fan for this with a fucking belt broken or something somewhere, I don't know where it is.
Yeah.
You know, I never had to look for it. No one ever, you know, asked me.
It might not exist, I mean, I
Yeah,
don't
that's
see
a-
nothing.
Well, I'm saying the same thing for the bathroom. I mean, all the bathrooms aren't part of this place, so, yeah, no, that looks like it's a ventless.
Yeah.
So, but if there's a general exhaust or anything, and then you guys know about the vestibule, because you take care of that,
Yeah.
that thing up there.
Yeah.
You know.
Let's go over it real quick while we got you guys in the
Yeah,
videotaping.
definitely.
Yeah, that's on your cold run, it's,
I was changing the filters on it for years, and I didn't realize it was your guys' deal. Well, what is this? Man, you gotta bring me a 12-foot ladder in here. What time is it? A 12-foot ladder?
yep.
No one-man lift?